Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another edition of Good Guy, Bad Guy Sports. I am the resident bad guy here, apparently. Ron Poniewasz, Newcastle News sports editor, joined by Larry Kelly, who's a member of the Luxembourg, Garbett, Kelly, and George law firm, the obvious good guy of the bunch. And he's currently an assistant baseball coach at Penn State Shenango. And you also know him from his days on the bench with Ralph Blundo as a Newcastle assistant varsity basketball coach and the WPIL champion baseball coach, varsity baseball coach at Shenango High School. Larry Kelly, hello, and thank you for joining us.
You wear that bad guy hat really well. I'm going to get you a black fedora so that you can wear it during the show. You know, as I said, in the old cowboy movies, the good guys wore white hats and the bad guys wore black hats. That's how you knew the difference.
Yeah.
But I see that you're still wearing your New England Patriot colors. We're going to talk about that a little bit.
Yep.
You had a couple losing bets, but I get it. I still remember your bets. But good to be back.
It is. This week, we will talk about the Pittsburgh Pirates, as that baseball season is coming really quick. We'll talk about the NBA All-Star Game, the farce that is. And then we'll close it up with the recapping the Super Bowl, which was a little over a week ago now as we sit here on Monday, February 16th. But first, this segment will be devoted to the Pittsburgh Pirates. Baseball is coming quick, as I mentioned. Spring training is just about here. Spring training games will start Friday. The Pirates' first game on the diamond is Saturday against the Baltimore Orioles. Larry, there's a lot of people. You're either in one camp or the other camp. We'll start first on a salary cap. Where do you stand on a salary cap?
Absolutely necessary. You can no longer function without it. It's a joke. It's an absolute joke. You still have to spend your money wisely. Just because you spend the most money doesn't mean you're going to win. The New York Mets are a prime example of that.
Yep.
But if you don't spend enough money, you don't have a chance of winning. And the Pittsburgh Pirates are an example of that. With a salary cap comes a salary floor. Now, if I'm a betting man, which I'm not, but I know you are, my bet is Bob Nutting will not vote for a salary cap. Why? Because there will be a salary floor attached to it, and I don't ever see him spending up to the salary floor. The salary floor is normally 80% of the salary cap. So if the salary cap is $200 million, the salary floor is going to be $160. He's not doing it. So I pray there's a salary cap. Not that I don't want to see the players make money. I don't care how much they make. But if there's a salary cap, my guess is Bob Nutting got to sell the team, and I'll be the happiest guy in America. The happiest guy in America, if that happens.
The Dodgers are north of $400 million with their cap. The Marlins are the lowest at around $86 million. I'm not sure where the Pirates rank, but it's not too much further above the Marlins than that. I'm not interested in a salary cap, and I'll tell you why. There's so many fans, like Pirates fans, that basically say what you said. You know, there's got to be a floor. Okay, so let's say that there is a floor. They do have a cap, and then the Pirates go on to have 6 straight last place finishes. 3 of those 6 place finishes are 100 losses. What's the next thing? Are you going to tell me, oh, we got to find an excuse. We need to do this now. We need to do that. It's just, you're just trying to move the goalposts. Or as I like to say, if you've ever played a game of billiards, put the cue ball where you want it so you can make the shot. That's what this is.
What's your point? What point are you trying to make here? Because I don't understand it. I think I'm a pretty smart guy, but I have no clue what point you're trying to make here.
I don't want a salary cap. I think it's dumb. It's a lot of Pirates fans will say, "Oh, we got to have a salary cap." Why? Because you think that's going to help you win? It's not going to help you win. You're going to underachieve.
Now, listen. The reason the Pirates lose isn't just because they don't spend money. That's one of the reasons they lose. The other reason that they lose, I have a saying: "Show me your leaders, and I will show you your team." I don't have to see the entire organization. Just point out who the leader is of your organization, and that'll tell me everything I need to know about your organization, of your team. As long as Bob Nutting is the leader of the Pittsburgh Pirates, we can't win, and I don't care how much money we spend. Why? He hires the wrong people. He doesn't hold those people accountable. He wants to win, but he doesn't need to win. There's a difference. Every once in a while, and not often, you got to come in the locker room and flip the tables over. Parenthetically, I'm using that as a metaphor. You got to hold people accountable. You got to choose the right people. The people that run the Pirates are tone deaf. They don't understand Western Pennsylvania. They don't understand what makes Western Pennsylvania people tick. They don't understand what it takes to be a winner and how to get there. Listen, a perfect example of that, once again, is they're not signing Andrew McCutchen. The guy's willing to sign for $5 million to be the 26th man of a 26-man roster. Are you serious? They're tone deaf. Kutch is the Pirates. He's the last bastion of what Pirate baseball was when we were anything in 2013, 14, and 15. He knows how to win. He's a great clubhouse guy. He's a great leader. If that isn't worth $5 million, then I don't know what is. No. Instead, as DH, we spent almost 3 times that much for Marcell Ozuna. Let me read you his stats from last year. 236. 236. When you say he didn't hit his weight, I guarantee you that Marcell Ozuna weighs more than 236 pounds. He had 21 home runs and 68 ribbies. If I'm not wrong, I think Kutch had 17 home runs last year and probably close to 68, if not more ribbies. The Pirates leadership, they're tone deaf. So I think there has to be a salary cap. What's your explanation for every other professional sports team and league in the world having a salary cap of baseball? What's your explanation for that?
It works for them, and it's worked for baseball to not have one. And now all of a sudden fans just say, well, you got to have a salary cap because I'm tired of the Dodgers spending all this money, and I'm tired of the Mets spending all this money. And you yourself said, well, the Mets didn't go anywhere last year and they spent all that money.
Listen, you don't have to spend $300 million to win, but you got to spend enough. Milwaukee was in the hunt, and I wrote a column on this last year. If I'm not mistaken, they only spent $30 million more than the Pirates. But they're in the middle of the pack somewhere. The Pirates last year spent about $90 million. They spent $120 million. It's been proven. You don't have to spend $300 million, but you have to spend enough. The Pirates never spend enough, and their leadership is just not good. Let me get back to Andrew McCutchen. Last year, he hit 239. I guarantee you he doesn't weigh 239 pounds and had 57 ribbies. The guy they signed had 68 ribbies. Remember, the guy they signed played for the Atlanta Braves last year. The Pirates had McCutchen had Joe Bag of Donuts hitting in front of him last year. So the fact that he only had 57 ribbies, that's probably one of the reasons. There's nobody that could hit, and he only had 13 home runs last year. But the fact of the matter is, Andrew McCutchen, I suspect, and will argue, brings more to the Pittsburgh Pirates than Marcell Ozuna.
They, as we talked off air, the Pirates had 3 free agent signings this year. You mentioned one of them with Marcell Ozuna. Another was Brendan Lowe, and another one was Ryan O'Hearn. You know what's going to happen with those 3 guys, right? I mean, this is from one Pirates fan to another. You're smart enough to see that, right? You know what's going to happen with those 3.
Well, unfortunately, most of them take a dive when they get to Pittsburgh. But Brandon Lowe is a professional baseball player. We haven't had many of them. He's a major leaguer. Last year he had 256, not a big average, but he had 31 home runs as a second baseman. I've always said batting average is the most overrated statistic in baseball. It's not OPS. It's how many times do you get on base, your slugging percentage, on base percentage, and slugging percentage. Brandon Lowe is a Major League Baseball player. And Ryan O'Hearn, They paid him $29 million, $14.5 million for the next 2 years, which is, I think, the largest contract they've given out in probably 10 years. It's been a long time since they gave out one that looked like that. He had 281 with 17 home runs last year, 63 ribbies, but he's a younger guy. Brandon Lowe's in the last year of his contract. They'll trade him at the trade deadline if we're not in contention. Ryan O'Hearn looks like a baseball player. These are two major league hitters. We haven't had a lot of those in a long time.
Yep, you touched on it. That's the correct answer. All three of them will be trade bait at the deadline. That's what these signings are. They always are.
Ozuna's a 1-year deal. Brandon Lowe's a 1-year deal, but I think Ryan O'Hearn's going to be here for a while. He's a younger guy. So I like to believe that at least that's a step in the right direction. But listen, I know a lot about this game of baseball. I've played it. I've coached it. It starts and ends on the mound. And, Paul Skeens, once again, will be the best pitcher in baseball. God forbid he gets hurt. And then after that, there's some pitching depth there. And if it stays healthy, the Pirates, I'm almost afraid to say this, could be around it because it starts and ends on the mound. The closer's Dennis Santana. He better have a good year. He's filling big shoes in Bednar's spot. And he hasn't closed. I was listening to the radio today. I think last year he only had 12 opportunities. He was 10 for 12 in saves, but he got a great whip. It was .45. Whip is the number of walks and hits you give up per inning. If you're below 1, you're outstanding. So he has potential, but we'll see.
Yeah. Well, the 1-year deals, those are likely gone at the trade deadline. And what does a team like the most when they're trading for somebody? Club control. Ryan O'Hearn is under contract for 2 years. That's club control. You trade him to wherever, that's what a team is going to look at. Oh, I can have him under control for not only the rest of this year, but all of 2027. That's going to net you possibly an even better prospect. So I would imagine all three of them will likely be gone at the deadline.
Well, Ozuna and Lowe will be gone if they aren't in contention, but I don't think Ryan O'Hearn's going anywhere this year. I just don't think so.
The World Baseball Classic is coming up soon, and one of the standouts for the United States, obviously, is Paul Skeens. What's your level of concern with that? Because as a Celtics fan, a couple of years ago, when the Olympics were around, Jason Tatum did not play much, and I know other Celtics fans were kind of PO'd about it. And I'm thinking, hey, that's that much less of a chance that he gets hurt. Number one. Number two, that puts a lot less miles on him, for the season. I was okay with him not playing. I'm really, really hoping that the World Baseball Classic doesn't use him too hard, because kind of like the Pirates fans have, he'll come back with an elbow issue or something, and it'll be all over from there. And it'll be because of the World Baseball Classic.
Well, I don't think they'll ride him too hard. Baseball, they're very cognizant of pitch counts, and especially early in the season, right? When they're going to play this baseball world class. It starts here soon.
Yeah.
They're very cognizant of that. And I'd be surprised if they overuse him. But I'm going to tell you something. Paul Skeens, my man's a dog. If I'm going to bat, I'm going to war. I want that cat in a foxhole with me. That's a tough dude, man. And if we ever do get to a playoff situation, that dude's he's the real deal. He's the real deal. We need more guys like him. He's one of those guys that he's constantly seeking perfection. He's looking for ways to get better. He's a student of the game. 2 words you've heard me say a million times. He's mentally tough and he's laser focused. Paul Skeens is the real deal. I don't think they're going to overuse him.
Yeah, and I'm a big fan of the World Baseball Classic. I think baseball should be in the Olympics. I think that's such a terrible move to get it out of there, but a great move by baseball to have its own little classic or whatever you want to call it every few years. Lastly, with the Pittsburgh Pirates, Larry, going into the season, their over/under win total. At first, it opened up around 74.5, but it's been bet up to 77.5. Assuming that it holds at 77.5 between now and close to opening day, are you going with over or under?
I bet over. And look, nobody loved the Pirates more than me. But and they say that the worst thing in a fan base, the worst thing than anger is apathy. And truth be told, the last 3-4 years, I've been apathetic. I've lost interest. That's sad. I'm ashamed to say that. But I do have a little excitement this year, just a little. I'd bet over, Ronnie. I think they're going to be at least a 500 team. And I do believe that if their pitching stays healthy, there's quality there. But if the pitching stays healthy, I think they could be okay. I mean, they got a couple guys with pedigree, not only Paul Skeens, Bubba Chandler is a young guy that looks like he has great potential. And they didn't trade Mitch Keller, because Keller's making about $12 million a year, maybe a little more than that. He was the last contract they gave out that was a multi-million-dollar contract. I mean, he's a pro. So they have a chance. Bet over, Ronnie, and give me 10% of your winnings.
And Connor Griffin is on the come, too. I don't know if he makes the lineup out of spring training, but it might not be too deep into the season before
here's the deal. They ought to bring that cat up. Don't worry about Super 2s. We haven't gotten to a Super 2 in a long, long time. Normally these guys are traded somewhere before then because there may not be baseball in 27. They're predicting that the owners are willing to sit out the entire year because you can't continue like this. You can't have the Dodgers spending $400 million and the Pirates spending 80. You just can't. It's unworkable. The Pirates start every season. They don't have a shot for a lot of reasons. And it's not just the money. I told you, I think it's as much the leadership. So Connor Griffin, if he's the real deal, and by all accounts, he's the real deal, he's the opening day shortstop. We only got Paul Skeens this year, maybe one more after this. Let's take a shot, boys. Let's take a shot. No reason holding back at this stage.
And you like the Pirates going over their win total. So let me ask you this one, because it kind of goes hand in hand. If they go over their win total, are you taking the Pirates to make the playoffs at least 5-1?
I put a $20 bet on 5-1. Is that what they are to make the playoffs?
Some shops have 5-1. I think some shops might have maybe 4-1, but I've seen 5-1 at most shops.
I put a $20 bet on 5-1, and if we win $100, you and I'll take you out for a few beers. Poniewasz, I know you like to eat, and you probably like to drink a little bit too, so it's on me. How about we put that $20 on the Buccos? I'll give you the money, and then if we win, we'll go out and celebrate, you and I.
Well, here's the way I would bet, because I almost always bet the Pirates under their win total, and I win more often than not. I'm going to sit tight and wait to see if it goes up a little bit more, 78.5, maybe 79.5.
And then you're going to bet under.
I'm going to bet under. But the other thing I'm going to do is
ye of little faith.
I'm probably going to go 100 on a lot of sites, maybe 50 on some sites, whatever. But I'm also going to come back the other way and hedge against it and put maybe 20 or 25 at different places that they go to the playoffs. Because if they do overachieve and they do make the playoffs at 5-1 in a smaller bet, you counter and you either don't lose much or you make a little bit of money.
Look, they let about 100 teams in the playoffs. You only need about 86 games to get in. That's 5 games over 500. And again, if the pitching stays healthy, because I think there's some quality there, I think we got a chance. And again, that's not even counting Jared. Help me, I'm missing
Triolo.
Not Jared Triolo. He's the third baseman, the pitcher who got hurt last year, had Tommy John surgery, who's scheduled to come back before.
No, not Jared Hughes. Jared Hughes was several years ago.
Jared Hughes was a relief pitcher. Man, you're no help when it comes to the Buccos.
Testing all the names.
Yeah, I can't think of Jared. He was lights out. But if he comes back, there's a pretty good chance that the Pirates going to have a pretty good rotate. Jared Jones was the guy I'm thinking of, who had Tommy John surgery. You go him, Bubba Chandler, Mitch Keller, Paul Skeens. That's pretty good rotation, but you got to stay healthy.
You got to stay healthy, and that's been a bugaboo for the Pirates for sure over the years. Okay, Larry, that is what we have for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Don't go away, because we are going to talk the NBA All-Star Game, which was yesterday, if you want to call it that. So don't go away.
We all know there's an advantage to being the home team, to playing at home. And at LGKG, we have been your home team for over 90 years.
We're more than just a law firm. We're your friends, your neighbors, an advocate when life takes an unexpected turn.
We're not just lawyers that practice law. We live in this community, just like you.
When you need us most, we're at our best.
Okay, we're back with you here on Good Guy, Bad Guy Sports. Ron Poniewasz joined by Larry Kelly. And in this segment, we are going to talk about the NBA All-Star Game, which was held yesterday. Larry, you go back further than I do. I've been an NBA fan since the extreme early 80s. Larry Bird got me into basketball. Certainly, I went to see him play either in his rookie year or second year. That's how I became a Celtics fan. And I can remember growing up, the NBA All-Star Game was a thing. It was great to watch. Eastern Conference All-Stars, Western Conference All-Stars. They played an actual game, and there was defense. There was great offense. And then something happened over the years, and I'm sure, you probably were a great fan of the NBA All-Star Game too. That goes back even further than my, memories.
Yeah, it was a game. Those guys had some pride in their performance. It's a joke now. It's a joke. I didn't watch it. I refuse. There are more competitive games on the playground. Down Big Run, we had more competitive games. There was some pride in the performance. When I was watching my man Dewey Sestrone, I wasn't going to let him shoot that step back jumper on me and score 20 points in a pickup game. These guys don't care. Now, in watching some highlights yesterday, it looked to be a little more competitive, but there was no blood on the floor, my brother. There was nobody diving for loose balls.
Yeah. So you at least saw highlights. I didn't even bother to watch highlights. They don't play a game anymore. They don't play one 4-quarter game. Instead, they play this team against this team for 1 quarter. And then the winner goes on to play this team, and they play 1 quarter. And then they go on to play this team for 1 quarter. And then they follow it up with this team playing that team for 1 quarter. So essentially, you do get 4 quarters of basketball. You get essentially 1 game. But I want 1 game, 2 teams, 4 quarters, play a game, and have it a game, not nonsense. Play a game.
Pride in performance. As I told you, we used to play on the playground. And, if you lost, you sat out for about a half hour waiting to get back on the court. Man, they were bloodbaths. These guys are professional athletes who will just stand there and let the other guy tomahawk dunk on them. I don't get it. I don't get it. It's been a long time since this game got serious or was serious. I don't remember Kobe Bryant or Michael Jordan just allowing the other guy to drive right past them and do a reverse triple slam dunk on him. I don't remember that. Have a little pride in guarding somebody, play to win. No, it's a joke. I don't know what the ratings were, but I didn't watch it. Maybe last year I watched 5 minutes of it, but I have no interest. And I don't know. It's guys like me probably who are being tuned out of the game. it's just we're old school guys, Ronnie, and this game is just about entertainment. And you know, make a shot and dance for the next 15 minutes. Pretend like you've done it before. I think it was Joe Paterno who said that. If you score a touchdown, make believe you've done this before. That's just me, but that's not everybody thinks like that anymore.
All-Star games seem like they're dying a quick death because we no longer get the Pro Bowl, and I loved the Pro Bowl growing up, and people would ask me why. Because it's football, and people would say it's not football. It's, they don't care. Well, the Pro Bowl that I grew up with the late 70s and early 80s through the 90s, that was the Pro Bowl. They cared, and they played a game, and it was after the Super Bowl when all the teams were eligible to play, not this Roger Goodell garbage of, well, these two teams made the Super Bowl, and we're going to hold the Pro Bowl a week before, so they're exempt from it. And you might have probably the greatest athletes in the world for those two teams. Can't play. You can vote for them, but you can't play. That's stupid. Hockey has gone the way of all-star games. Last year they had that, what was it, Four Nations face-off or whatever they called it, and that was pretty good.
That was a little competitive.
Yeah.
Hockey players are a different breed of cat, Ronnie.
Right.
Those people still have some pride in their performance. Right. They're out there winning. The only thing they don't do in those games is drop their gloves. But those cats are playing hard.
Yeah, and Major League Baseball actually still plays an all-star game. There was one thing I don't agree with it, though, is a player might come out after the second inning and then he just leaves the park to go have dinner with whomever. And it's like, how do you know that the game is not going to be tied after 9 innings? And if it goes extra innings, I want an actual game. And, we can't put that guy in because he's at Taco Bell right now with his family, or we can't put this guy in because he's.
Yeah. In the old days, Willie Mays played all 9 innings.
Right.
They didn't want to come out. We're living in a different world, brother. And I'm 30 years older than you, so you can imagine the world I grew up watching. But yeah, it's a joke. The pro football players, they're playing flag football. There were better flag football games at Flaherty Field when I used to play in the old flag football league than what I watched. I watched 5 minutes of that. It was a joke. The NBA All-Star game is a joke. Maybe they shouldn't play the game. You're embarrassing yourself.
Yeah. Okay, that is our NBA All-Star Game discussion. There's 2 of them down in the books and 1 more to go. We're going to talk Super Bowl 60 here, Seattle and New England. We're going to recap that, and that'll be our show, so don't go away.
We all know there's an advantage to playing at home, to being the home team. At LGKG, we've been your home team personal injury attorneys for auto accident and workers' compensation cases for over 90 years. We know what works and how to win. We have all the credentials. At LGKG, we don't take every case. We handpick our clients so that we can give you the attention you deserve.
We're back with you here for the final time on Good Guy, Bad Guy Sports for the week. Ron Poniewasz joined by Larry Kelly. We're going to recap Super Bowl 60. It wasn't a very good day for yours truly for a lot of reasons. You lose a little bit of money on the Super Bowl, not a whole lot, but a little bit. The day started off with my Celtics getting routed by the Knicks by about 30. Had an individual ticket on Hideki Matsuyama to win the pro golf tournament. A one-shot lead going into hole number 18. He bogeyed and then lost on the first playoff hole. So I lost that one too. And then the Patriots turn around and lose Super Bowl 60. And I really thought that they had a shot, more than a puncher's chance, because Sam Darnold has it in him to throw the ball away, to throw it to the other team. And if you were to tell me, Larry, going into it, I think he was 17 of 34 or 19 of 34, something like that, with 202 yards, 1 passing touchdown, and all Seattle scored was 1 offensive touchdown, I would have told you, well, supposedly the parade is supposed to be on Tuesday in Boston.
What he didn't do, and go back and listen to our Good Guy, Bad Guy Sports, he didn't turn it over, Ron.
Right.
He wasn't great, but he wasn't lousy. I said then, the wild card is Sam Darnold. He could lay an egg. He almost laid one. He was 19 for 38, 202 yards, 1 TD. His quarterback rating was 53, but your guy Drake May was 16. He was terrible.
Yeah.
So, I mean, look, Sam Darnold didn't win the game, certainly, but he didn't lose the game. And they controlled the line of scrimmage. We talk about this all year in high school football. Seattle, they rushed for a total of 141 yards, but Kenneth Walker had 135 of them. And if they didn't call a 60-yard touchdown pass, he'd have ran for almost 200 yards in the game. So, they controlled the line of scrimmage. I think Drake May got sacked 5 or 6 times, maybe. Yeah, it was. And you ran the ball for 79 yards, and Drake May had half of those. You're not winning many football games when you do that, Ronnie.
No. If you have it at your fingertips, maybe you have NFL Network, I invite you to watch possibly the Seahawks' first drive, maybe the first couple drives, and all you'll see is the Patriots jumping routes. I think the first pass that Darnold attempted, Marcus Jones almost intercepted it. I think that was New England's game plan. You got to turn him over because he's got it in there. He's got turnovers in there. You just got to bring him out. And they jumped that route. Christian Gonzalez dropped one at the goal line right toward the end of the first half. That was a nice play by him, but I mean, that if he intercepts it, that saves 3 points, so it's not like a huge deal in the grand scheme of things.
If and buts were candy and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas. Or to quote Mike Tomlin, I think he said, if my grandmother had melt parts, she'd be my grandfather. Now, I've heard that if my grandmother had a mustache, she'd be my grandfather. But my grandmother almost did have a mustache. So the fact of the matter is, your team ran the ball for 79 yards. The quarterback had half of them. That's never good. He was sacked 6 times, and he had a quarterback rating of 16. Now, you could still win. People love to say Ben Roethlisberger won 2 Super Bowls. No, he won 1 Super Bowl because of him, and the Steelers won another Super Bowl in spite of him. His quarterback rating in the first Super Bowl that the Steelers won for Bill Cowher, I think that was the 2005 Super Bowl. His quarterback rating was 22. He was terrible. He threw 2 interceptions, no touchdowns. So it could happen, but you better have some big plays. You better turn the other team over. You better run the ball. They did none of that. And I predicted Seattle would win. The only wild card would have been if Sam Darnold, if he laid an egg. And he wasn't great, but I won't say he laid an egg. You know what I'm saying?
And it's strange, too, with Seattle. Go back to the Thursday night game when they played the Rams, and they were going for 2, and I think it was a lateral, and it was knocked down at the line of scrimmage, and a guy for Seattle just literally casually picked the ball up in the end zone for the 2-point conversion. I don't know if you remember that or not.
I do, yeah.
And they rallied from a big deficit. Imagine if they don't win that game. They're the 5 seed, and the Rams are the 1 seed. Does that mean the Rams go to the Super Bowl because they'd probably be playing each other in the NFC Championship?
Yeah, probably. But they'd have beaten New England also, Ronnie. New England, I know you love them, but they're not a Super Bowl championship caliber team. Not yet. They may be. Drake May is a great quarterback, but he wasn't great that day. In his second year, I think Roethlisberger got the Steelers to the Super Bowl in his second year, and they won in spite of him. The quarterback rating of 22 was the lowest quarterback rating of a winning quarterback in the history of the Super Bowl, and Drake May was 16, and he got sacked 6. It wasn't all his fault. Got sacked 6 times. So it really wasn't much of an exciting game. It just wasn't. You know what I mean? Both teams were – I think Seattle knew they were better. They were playing not to lose. And maybe New England, they were willing to take chances because they knew they had to turn them over a few times if they were going to win the game.
Yeah, New England's best shot was to play Seattle, and they did. But then it was only because Darnold has it in him to turn the ball over and make mistakes, but they just never got that out of him.
No.
When New England finally scored, I literally said, well, at least they're not going to get shut out. They cut the deficit to 19-6 with the conversion pending. They elected to kick the point after. hindsight's 2020, Larry. But going into the conversion, are you kicking the extra point to make it 19-7, or are you attempting a 2-point conversion with the hopes of making it 11?
No, I'm kicking the extra point at that time. It was still early enough in the game. You were the guy that always says, don't chase points.
Yep.
And it was, look, Seattle scored. The one touchdown was a fluke. I mean, I think they called it an interception. Basically Drake May kind of gets stripped of the ball, falls right into the guy's hands, and he runs it in. Or that score, is 22-13. It's a little bit a different game, but Seattle was they were better. You could say they weren't a great team, and maybe they weren't, but defensively, they were pretty good, Ronnie. They're pretty good defensively. Again,
I'm kicking the extra point there also, and the 2-point conversion never even crossed my mind, possibly because I'm not a good, quote unquote 2-point conversion guy. A lot of people were, critical of Mike Vrabel after the game. Oh, you got to go for 2 there and cut it to 11. Well, first of all, your lingo is wrong. You're going for 2 in the hopes that you make it, and then you cut it to 11. It's not automatic. Just because you line up to go for 2, the referees aren't going to say it's good. You got to make the damn thing.
Yeah. What is the conversion rate in the NFL on 2-point conversions? I think it's less than 50%.
I would imagine so. Yeah.
Yeah. So no, but that's not why they lost. Anybody that says that is looking for reasons and excuses that Seattle was the better team. You sack the other quarterback 6 times and hold them to 79 yards rushing. And again, that's a little bit of a statistic that the quarterback had 37 of the 79 yards, and they weren't designed runs. Your running backs, Stevenson had 23 and Henderson had 19. So they averaged 3 yards a carry, both of them. So Seattle did what they had to do, to win the game. Like I said, the 79 yards total is a little misleading when the quarterback has 37 of them, and his average rush is 7.4 yards. So.
Yeah, I don't think anybody was pointing a finger at, that's why they lost the game. But a lot of people after the game were wondering why they didn't go for 2 there. And then they literally went for 2 down 29-13. Probably at that point, it was right around the 2-minute warning. They probably figured, why not? What difference does it make? Me personally, because people clamor for going for 2 all the time, if you told me, hey, you know what? They're going to take the 2-point conversion out of football at midgets, high school, college, pro, UFL, Canadian, every level, I'd say, good. I'm tired of people saying, go for 2, go for 2.
Well, you don't like it. You just don't like it. Let me see here what I can say. NFL conversion rate on 2-point conversions. Let's see what they tell me it is. I just did a Google search. It's about 48%. So just a little under 50%.
It's not that I don't like it. I just don't like people thinking, you have to go for 2 all the time. And the way they word it, it's automatic. It's not automatic.
Yeah. The high was in 2023. It was 55%. And it was 41%, low of 31 to 41% in 24. So again, it's less than a 50% shot. It depends on when the game, early in the game, I'm like you, don't chase points. Comes back to haunt you later on.
Yeah.
But, listen, Seattle was better. Kenneth Williams, that cat's pretty good running back, isn't he? I mean, you got to agree. He can cut on a dime. My God, a couple of those runs, there wasn't a lot of room, but he made it happen. He found room when there wasn't any. 27 rushes, 135, 5 yards a carry, and he had one called back. Like, was it 60 yards or something, 65-yard touchdown run?
That preserved the under.
Yeah. How about how close that was? It was like a point, wasn't it? The over-under was within a point.
45.5, and it landed 42, so within a field goal.
Yeah, you're right, because, the kid would have had close to 200 yards. He was definitely the most valuable player in the game. It was a chintzy holding call, too. That really didn't look like much of a hold, but the other thing I liked about the game, and maybe the only thing I liked, because I had no rooting interest and it wasn't a very exciting game, The referees stayed out of the game. They stayed out of the game, Ronnie. Don't decide. Let the players decide the game. There was a lot of contact on the passes that were being defended. But unless it's obvious, let the players decide the game. It just makes me nuts when, they throw the flag every time somebody bumps into each other. I like the way that game was called. I did.
And one nice thing, if I had to point for a nice thing about Seattle winning the Super Bowl is, and you've heard me say this on multiple shows, be it Gridiron or our discussions on here, it's about going for it on fourth down and things like that. Mike McDonald is the Seattle coach. Did you know, Larry, Seattle is went for it on the least amount of times on fourth down this year. Least amount of fourth down attempts, Seattle Seahawks. Now, how many games out of, they play 17 regular season. They beat the 49ers and the Rams in the NFC playoffs. So 20 games. Out of 20 games, how many of those games did they not even attempt a fourth down play?
I don't know the answer to that. I know he took some field goals early in the game, and I bet he was glad he did. Mm-hmm. I don't know the answer to that. Probably zero. I don't know.
He had 10 games where he did not even attempt a fourth down play. 10 games out of 20 where he said the punt, the field goal, whatever is my friend, rather than being Dan Campbell and say, we're going for it. 4th and 99 from the 1. We're going for it.
Yeah. Well, they beat up Mike Tomlin for not going for it on fourth down for years. I guess there are analytics that suggest when you should and when you shouldn't do it. I think you got to use your gut. It's obvious when you should, I believe, and when you shouldn't do it. And there was a book written by Malcolm Gladwell called Blink. And the premise of the book is the decision that you make in the blink of an eye, 90% of the time is the right decision. So if it's 4th and 1 and you got to think about it for more than a blink of an eye, you should probably take the points or punt it. But if immediately you say, let's go for it, in the blink of an eye, you should go for it. That's the way I do it. You know what I mean? That's the way when I was a coach and calling plays, and even in baseball, should we walk this guy? Should I pull the pitcher? It was what I thought about in the blink of an eye. My first thought. If I had to think about it too long, I stayed with what we were doing, and I had a little bit of success. But that's because I had good players.
Right. Well, if you remember, the Steelers played Detroit late in the season, and Detroit needed to have that game like blood. And there were times where they went for it on fourth down, and Dan Campbell always will go. He would just look so disappointed. It's like, can you take the field goal?
He did that early in the game, if you remember, and the Steelers stopped him at the goal line. So, and those 3 points would have been huge had they been on the board at the end of that game. So, that's again, that's a coaching philosophy. But my thought is, if in the blink of an eye you say go, then go. If you got to think about it more than a blink of an eye, take the points or punt it. There's my coaching advice to all the coaches in the world.
Yeah, if somebody like Dan Campbell could really improve on next season, all he'd have to do is look at those stats and say, wow, Seattle, they went for it the least amount of times. Seattle won the Super Bowl. And them. And maybe I should dial it back, but I'm sure he won't. And that's the difference between great coaches and, mediocre.
He better have a winning season next year, or he could be on the hot seat.
Yep.
What we've learned in the NFL is that you're only as good as your last game.
That's right. Okay, Larry, and that is our last segment this week here on Good Guy, Bad Guy Sports. We thank everybody out there for joining us. He's the good guy, Larry Kelly. He wears his good guy hat with him everywhere he goes. It's that white hairdo that he's got there. And I'm the bad guy, and Ron Poniewasz. And we
tell him how to find us. Tell him how to find us on YouTube, right?
YouTube, yep. We are everywhere. If you're wondering if where we are, we're there.
I want you to leave comments, listeners. If you're listening to this, leave comments. Give us your opinions. Tell Ronnie where he's wrong, because he's wrong so often. And by chance, I make a mistake and I misstate a fact or a statistic, and I'm wrong. Chances are that's not going to happen, but I need to know that. So leave comments, like and subscribe, as they say.
Like and subscribe. And we hope you join us again next week here on Good Guy, Bad Guy Sports as we talk, whatever the latest topics are. And remember, we're getting closer to opening day in baseball. We're getting closer to conference basketball tournaments in the NCAA and the NCAA tournament. So those type of things will be up for discussion. He's Larry Kelly. I'm Ron Poniewasz. We thank you for joining us.